One thing that's often overlooked in Watch Dogs 1 is the police system. People remember the hacking, the story, or the hype around its graphics, but the way the police worked in this game made it one of the most tense and unpredictable open-world experiences of its generation. And honestly, revisiting it in 2025, it still feels unique. The moment you got into trouble, the cops in Watch Dogs 1 didn't just magically appear in front of you like in some games. They were smart, aggressive, and designed to feel like a constant presence in Chicago. From the very first Wanted level, the game pushed you into thinking strategically. Would you hide? Would you run? Or would you use the city itself as your weapon? That last option is what made the system shine. It wasn't just about outrunning the cops, it was about outsmarting them. Think about the tools you had. Hacking traffic lights to cause pileups, raising bridges to cut off pursuit, or activating blockers to smash pursuing vehicles gave chase sequences a cinematic quality. No two escapes felt the same because the environment was always part of the fight. You weren't just trying to get away. You were staging a high-speed chess match across Chicago's streets. And the police AI? For 2014, it was surprisingly sharp. They coordinated with each other, tried to flank you, and didn't just give up if you went out of sight for a few seconds. Helicopters would appear at higher wanted levels, spotlighting your car, forcing you to adapt. It felt relentless, and it gave the game real stakes. Every escape felt earned, like you had to use your wits and the city's infrastructure to survive. One of the most underrated details was the way civilians played into the system. Unlike other open-world games, where cops only react to you committing crimes directly in front of them, Watch Dogs 1 made it so civilians could call the police if they saw you doing something shady. That meant you had to always be aware of who was watching. You could be in the middle of a hack, and suddenly someone nearby dials 911, and now you're in trouble. It added a layer of paranoia that perfectly matched the game's surveillance theme. And then there was the sheer tension of trying to evade a scan. If you remember, the police could lock down areas of the city and initiate a sweep to track you. The screen would light up with circles of detection, and you had to keep moving, hiding in alleys, or slipping into parked cars to blend in. These weren't just action sequences, they were mini thrillers, little bursts of suspense that made you feel like a fugitive. It's also worth pointing out how dynamic the chases were compared to other games at the time. In Grand Theft Auto, the most common escape was to drive as far as you could and wait for the stars to disappear. In Watch Dogs 1, the challenge was more layered. It wasn't about waiting out the system. It was about actively fighting it using creativity. You had to manipulate the city like it was another weapon in your arsenal. And that design choice gave players a sense of control that few open-world games managed to replicate. Of course, the police weren't perfect. Sometimes their AI broke. Sometimes escapes felt unfair. And sometimes the system punished you for things you didn't do. But even with those flaws, it added something rare: unpredictability. You never knew when a civilian might report you, or when a pursuit would escalate from a couple of squad cars to a full-on manhunt with helicopters and barricades. That unpredictability gave Chicago its tension, the feeling that you were never truly safe, no matter where you went. Looking back today, the police system in Watch Dogs 1 stands out because it wasn't just about punishing players for chaos. It tied directly into the game's central theme: surveillance, control, and power. You were fighting not just individuals, but an entire system designed to keep eyes on you at all times. And escaping that system felt satisfying precisely because it was so overwhelming. That's why even now, in 2025, this part of Watch Dogs 1 deserves more credit. It wasn't perfect, but it was ambitious, and it made the city feel like a character that fought back. Every pursuit was a reminder that Chicago wasn't just your playground. It was a battlefield where technology, law enforcement, and strategy collided in ways few other open-world games dared to attempt.